Yeah, absolutely.
How do you pick your investments?
Um, in terms of stocks, what I was primarily doing was one, I would only invest in companies that I understood, like
Yeah.
how do they make money, what are their avenues to make money, all that kind of stuff. And then for me, the biggest part is kind of just looking at the financial statements, like the income statement, the cash flow statement, and the what's the last one? Financial. Can't remember, but there's three of them on Yahoo Finance,
Yeah, yeah.
and
The
you can literally just physically look at the numbers of what the business is doing and be like, oh, this the top line revenue for this company, you can physically see over the last 4 years went from 4 billion to 5 billion to 6 billion to 7 billion. Like that to me is a good sign to start. And then I kind of look deeper into the numbers and see what's their net profit, how much money are they spending, what are they spending money on, all that kind of stuff. And then if it makes sense, I'd invest in them. But as I said, it's all companies that I understand. Like for me, like mind you, I sold a lot of what I had because I have kind of diversified my portfolio now. And
same.
I'm really just sitting on Apple. But at one point, I had Apple, Amazon, Tesla, Microsoft, Coke, and I think iBuy or iPay, one of the
Yeah,
two.
yeah,
Yes. So these are all companies that we're both really familiar with, right? And
yeah.
obviously are doing pretty well. So for me, it's more so blue chip stuff.
Blue chips.
One, but focusing on the numbers and like if it says
The balance sheet, a strong balance sheet.
yeah, exactly, right. Yeah, the balance sheet. So if it's like if the numbers say, oh, the top line revenue went from 6 to 5 to 5.5 to 4 to 4.5 to 3, it's like okay, yeah, they're doing all right, but the numbers are going way down. I don't know if
Yeah.
this is something I'm willing to put my
I do
money
something similar. So like what I
in.
do is at night I'll take the CBD oil because it nice and gets me nice and relaxed.
Yeah.
Put in my headphones. My kids are asleep, and then I'll put on house music and I'll start reading. I'll have a list of at least I can do 10 at a time, and
Hmm.
I'll look at the 10 companies and I'll have the balance sheet out. So it's one thing to see your revenues, but I want to see what your debt is, right? I want to
Hmm.
see your
Yeah, 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 absolutely.
short term and long term debt. I don't care really much about long term debt as I care about the short term debt. What do you
Yeah,
owe right now? I look at uh, are they clawing back dividends? Are they consistently giving
yeah.
more dividends? If they're consistently giving more dividends, that's a company I want to be involved with. If they're
Hmm.
clawing back dividends, there's a reason why, and
Right.
I'm not sure I want to be involved with that. I also look at the underlying business, right? Is it something that can grow, or is it something that's kind of just a stagnant business?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah. How they
for
growing
example,
business?
you just said Coke, right? Coke's a great business; it'll always make revenue, but unless the underlying business is virtually the same for Coke, right?
Yeah.
So when you invest in a company like Coke, you're investing for dividends strictly because unless
Hmm.
Coke is making acquisitions, unless
Hmm.
they're buying up other companies, like buying up Monster or whatever
Yeah,
other,
yeah, yeah.
right, their their growth potential is limited. Whereas if you look at a company like Tesla,
Hmm.
growth potential is
Yeah.
immense, right?
Pretty good. Yeah.
Right. That's how I view it. And then I take the headphones out and I go, okay, go to my wife. I'm like, hey, babe, okay, so here's what we're gonna buy. This is the number we're gonna buy it. I put it on. We have a little clipboard there. I put all the numbers on the clipboard so she knows in case I'm on
Exactly.
the road. If she sees the numbers there, that's what you need to buy. That's how my process of doing it. The other thing that I've been some people have advised me on is knowing what the underlying, like I just said, the underlying company does,
Yeah.
and knowing if there's a change in it. So, like, one thing I've started to do, I have to do it a lot more, is when earnings come out, when a company releases the earnings, they do the
Yeah, yeah,
calls.
yeah,
They do the calls. And like before, I was like, oh, I'm too lazy. I'm not going to listen to the calls or whatever. But now I started reading the transcripts, reading the calls. And I like, recently we invested in Netflix, for example. And their earnings just came out. It was a decent earnings, and now they said they want to get involved into video games, right?
mm.
Into video game streaming. So
Yeah, I
for
heard
me,
about that actually.
I look at that in two ways. I look at that as a risk because to get involved into another avenue of streaming, they have to put in more money, right?
Hmm.
So if they have to put in more money, might be a small chance in the future you see the stock split, which is for people who have a whole lot of shares, it's a good thing. But for
Mhm.
people who don't have a crap load of money and have a small amount of shares, like for example me, it's not a great thing because that reduces my equity, and
Right.
that means that they need to raise more cash and able to do that, and they're going to put themselves into more debt. So by understanding the underlying business and the financials, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wait for this thing to kind of go up, and I might have to sell it before I actually wanted to.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
what when I bought it for this framework. Now they're changing the framework on me a little bit.
Mhm.
They're
Mhm.
going to be taking on more debt to produce more money. Now, in the long term, it might work out, but if it doesn't, I'm holding the bag, right?